Good evening, folks. We are live. This is AdZ, Anakin Skywalker, YouTube's chosen one, live from the neighborhood news studio with the Energizer Bunny, Aaron Adler himself, and Andy DeBala as well. And I want to thank Shrimp Zoo for joining us this evening as well from Buffalo, New York.
What's going on?
Got one of those new masks, huh? You're not going with the surgical type, or whatever you're going with the painter's mask tonight?
I like the molded ones better than the surgical ones.
That would be the
I feel like
painter's
they would
mask,
work better.
I believe, right? You might say.
Yeah, I usually wear the surgical mask.
I got my N95 from Shrimp Zoo, actually, so even though sometimes I forget.
You've only been using the same mask for a month, huh? So you go about one every 3 months. As long as you're wearing it, everything's okay.
Yeah, well, those actually last a bit longer than the regular disposable blue ones, but yeah, they're still disposable.
So I think our sound's okay. I think we sound good. We are going to go until 9 o'clock tonight. We have our dear friend Mark, who's Satanic Live, who's going on at 9. So we're going to cut it at 8:59, no matter what's going on. We have the phone here. We hope that our audience and friends are going to call in with things that they want to talk about. We are starting this regularly as a Sunday night show. That is going to be a call-in audience interactive environment for, myself, Addy, Shrimp. I'd say we all are entitled to tangents at any time. Shrimp, yourself, if you got any points or any sound offs you want to make, feel free to sound off and we'll mute the calls, but
yeah, pretty laid back tonight, folks.
We want to go Sunday night laid back.
Yeah. And we, just get our points across from the week, main points, very busy week. I think everybody's feeling a bit drained, maybe a bit down or discouraged in some way. But I think that
I'm the most pumped I've ever been.
Aaron Adler is always energized.
If you're a Biden fan, I don't think you're feeling that down, though.
Right. There's a number, folks. And
I'm more like, dude, like the march to freedom is happening, and there might be good presidents and bad presidents. There might be more oppression or less oppression. They may bring a whole war. They may kill many of us. There may be a small remnant which survives to take the March of Freedom to victory, but I'm absolutely positively certain there is a March to Freedom and it's happening and we're a part of it. So I'm pumped, right? Like, it's a little dark, it's a little scary, but honestly, was Trump doing anything that was, that great? Bill Barr and all these other, milquetoast people in all these offices everywhere. It's like, I don't know, man. It's all such a school play beyond us, and I think we should be pumped. I think we should be excited. I think even though it's easy to be discouraged, that's the last thing we should let ourselves do. And that's even job number 1 tonight, team.
Definitely.
Is when you move on from this broadcast, you're going to be more positive and pumped than you were before, because the March to Freedom is going. President, this or that. The March to Freedom is going.
Yeah.
And you were marching this week around Detroit getting yelled at.
Yep. Yeah, I was. I was in downtown Detroit these past few days with Detroit Dave Underdown, aka Dave Down Under, local Michigan boy here who knows the area very well. It's the stomping ground, so it's a really great asset to have, along with another friend who wishes to remain anonymous. Really helpful support, coming out of the woodwork over the past few weeks here. And met up with Brandon Straka, who I guess is a very well-known journalist. To be honest, didn't know who he was until this week. So pardon me on that one, Mr. Straka. We got a good 5-minute interview in. Traveled back here, and I had a great show with McDuff and Dave last night.
Here we are rolling along. I have to say, I think the audience was more concerned about you than you were about you. Shrimp, were you able to see Addy on Friday night or Thursday night or whatever? Did you see him live, or did you see him later on?
I don't know if I saw him live, but I definitely watched, I think, 2 videos where he was like downtown area. Was it Detroit? I watched a bunch of his recent videos though.
It was like less intense, not live, because everybody was super worried about him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dude, like George had to cut away from this. Actually, it was Thursday night. That's right. George was on this broadcast, and in the middle, he's like, "Hold on, we think AdZ is getting attacked in downtown Detroit. Let me go check on him." And everyone, the audience, is like, "Oh my God, is Addy okay? Somebody get Addy out of there!" And it's just like, you probably didn't care, huh? You're just rolling along.
I didn't know that was going on. To be honest,
Getting attacked by Democrats or Republicans or police.
I mean, I guess when you're watching on YouTube, it's like maybe it seems more intense than it is, or maybe you're just the Jedi, right? That you say you are. And
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely, excuse me, a certain state of mind you got to be in. Yeah, for sure. But it's not like you're going to a concert or, well, in a way, you still have that, situational awareness, as ECAT phrased it. It's a really simple way to put it. It's, you gotta be aware what's going on around you. I got jumped one time, and that really teaches you very quickly. You have to pay attention. So that's what I would encourage people to do.
Did you start learning jujitsu before or after you got jumped?
Situations. That was after.
So you got jumped and then you started learning jujitsu?
Yeah.
Wow. Holy moly. Fair enough.
Just a very, very small taste. It was only like 6 weeks or so. But anyways, it was a good week overall, minus the, alleged and seeming sting, intra-state operation that is preventing Donald Trump from rightfully, in my eyes, earning the presidency. What do you think, Aaron?
I think if you're playing Monopoly and somebody steals a bunch of $100 bills out of the bank, but then the game proceeds like a bunch of rolls, and you want to be like, "Hey, you stole a bunch of hundreds a half an hour ago," it's too late, and you either stop playing the game, or you just be like, "Fine, we'll beat you even with the extra $100 bills. That's fine." And that's where we're at. Because, like, dude, I mean, how many of us were trying to warn everyone that this whole thing was broken and fraudulent and a leaky bucket? And it was like, it's just whatever. Like, it's too late now.
What I think is, I think America is probably 70% Democrat. Out of those 70% of Americans that are Democrat, I think about 30% of those, maybe a quarter of them, are extremely progressive liberals, and then the rest of the country, I think, is about 30% Republican. And that 30%, maybe 75-80% are Trump supporters. So I think if you had everyone vote in the country, it'd be 70-30, and Trump would lose. I think there was,
maybe.
It's just very obvious. Every single big city is liberal and Democrat.
Yeah, but every single not big city isn't.
I live in a country where it's mostly Trump supporters, but I have actually seen some Trump supporters switch to Biden, which surprised me. But yeah, I think the country is about 30% Republican. And if you go back 20 years, I would say it was 50-50 or 60-40, but I think there was fraud, but on a less scale than you guys. Like, I think what Rudy Giuliani's saying, he doesn't have any proof. I think Rudy Giuliani is a moron. But I think on a small scale, there's people that don't like Trump and they hate him so much that they were like throwing ballots out or messing them up maybe. And I think there was a lot of confusion. They're going to have recounts. So I think thousands of ballots, maybe tens of thousands. But you guys think what? Millions? Just
I think it's irrelevant. I think we let it happen, and it's like there's no way of putting it back in the bottle. I think it was a total joke. I think there's no integrity. Nobody believes in it. And I think in 4 years, we need to stand in lines, dip our fingers in a purple ink blotcher, and vote that way and no other way. No machines, no mail-ins, no nothing.
You vote via fingerprint.
Dude, like in Iraq, go to the pictures. Like I remember, I was in my 20s, probably about your age, and we freed Iraq. Whatever you want to call it, right? And then they had their election, and they were all standing in line. And the pictures on the front page of the New York Times, back when I used to read the New York Times, right, was this lady and everybody, and they had their purple fingers because they had to stand in line, dip your finger. And I don't even know if the dipping of the finger was like they had to, vote. It was more just like, hey, if your finger's purple, you're going to have to go home and scrub it all day before you can come back here and vote a second time. So you're not going to be able to do a quadrillion or, 1,000 or 10,000 or 1,000,000 or however mail-in ballots it's going to be. It's like, what are we going to do now? Go find the Ferrari guy? The Ferrari's been chopped up and all the tires have been taken off and it's been scrap metaled and sent over to Nigeria or somewhere. At this point, we ain't catching the Ferrari guy.
Listen to this. Listen to this. What if this just occurred to me, people? This entire situation was set up for that. So they could so we could demand getting fingerprinted everybody that wants to vote.
Oh, that's messed up.
I'm saying there's a fingerprint. The finger was just like the.
I'm saying that's a great idea. I'm saying that's a great idea from a security perspective.
Yeah, they would.
But that's exactly what they want too, right? Maybe.
Yeah,
they want
to do that. Yeah, they
fingerprint.
do want to do that.
Oh, you're saying to get everyone's fingerprint?
This is my idea. I think you should have like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, like Twitter, Facebook, and then maybe a government app, something like that, where there's like 3 different apps or something like that, or websites, and you vote on all 3 of them, and then they all release the numbers, and then you see if they're gonna have to match up. Something like that, where you vote 3 different ways, or from 3 different parties. But I don't know,
ranked voting and everything.
I mean, maybe that's.
We're just like so far gone. It's sad. It's unfortunate. It's just like, man, I guess I was the one who's going to be positive, right? I'm sounding defeated here. Well, but it's almost like it's got to collapse and be totally broken before everyone realizes that it's time to change now. This is ridiculous. We have Dominion sheet. My thing, I put my ballot into a Dominion machine. And I even stood there and looked at it and was just like, what am I doing?
So you brought up Dominion, Aaron. And before we go into Dominion, Entropy chat link, I just put it in the live chat. We are live on this Sunday evening, people on my channels and the Neighborhood News Studio. And we are welcoming Shrimp Sue this evening. And you mentioned Dominion. I've had several people messaging me with intelligence from around the country, and I really do appreciate the contributions, people, because we only have so much time in a day, and getting that streamlined is really frees up our resources, our time resources, which is the most valuable resource insofar as it's non-renewable and finite, right? So the election software system in Michigan that switched 6,000 votes from Trump to Biden is called Dominion. It is used in 30 states, including Nevada, Arizona, Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, Pennsylvania, every single major swing state.
My thing is, I think Trump was never going to win Arizona or Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania, their governor is a Democrat, and in Arizona, the senator is a Democrat. So I see that as Pennsylvania to me was always going to be Democrat. I always thought Trump would have no chance in winning, and then Arizona I thought he would win Arizona, but they just selected their first Democrat governor. I think he really got elected, though. He was an astronaut. I think people viewed him as a hero. So I think that's why you have like a Democrat as a senator in Arizona.
at about 1:30 in the morning, Trump was smashing, and the Vegas odds where you had to bet $800 to win $100 on Trump. That just is what it is.
Do you think?
And then all of a sudden it wasn't.
I think so. Like, I didn't vote, but maybe I would have voted for Trump. I don't know. I didn't vote, but if Trump was elected, like, it would have been better for the stock market probably, and it would have been better for, like, there wouldn't be as much censorship on Twitter and YouTube. Online would have probably had less censorship. It's gonna have like a purge now that Biden is going to be in office. Like,
I don't
Trump
think it's over. I don't think it's over.
Can I remind you of something? 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, Obama was the president. Obama was the president.
Okay.
Whose mom is CIA. His mother's in Iran. All sorts of crazy. Obama was the president. Before that was Bush, and they blew up a bunch of buildings and pretended it was airplanes. Like, we've come a long way, people.
Who's your favorite?
You guys were kids. I actually, Shrimp, you and I are about the same age. You look,
yeah.
I'm balding, so I look older, but Addie was a kid. But dude, like, come on. I mean, we've come a long way, and we know so much, and we're all so much smarter collectively, which is scary because, man, what are they going to do now? Are they just going to cancel all of our, ways of communicating and informing and learning together? But it's okay. I mean, it's going to suck, but it's going to be okay because we're learning. We're look how much stuff we know. Look how ridiculous they have to be to defeat us now. And it's just, I don't know. I'm trying to be positive.
Yeah, and I think, in a way, this situation has brought about a collectiveness for some of us that wasn't there before, perhaps. But I guess you mentioned kind of the anxiety of dealing with it, or just being down, maybe, right? Like being kind of down, or
in terms of just people's moods and feeling like they've
not
lost.
Devastated, but just kind of disappointed, maybe, or discouraged, right? And another one too is like fear, and dealing with fear of anything, and that's really hard to do as well. So just facing that, I think fear, or facing that emotion through action, I think is the best way to get over it, really.
Let Shrimp make his comment, because I'm gonna look for, we're gonna go scriptural. We were at 7:54. We got no phone calls, people. No phone calls.
Okay.
So with no phone calls, you know what that means. I start opening the Bible, and we start going geopolitical Bible study.
I think
we're gonna get Eddie wrapped in.
Go ahead, Shrimp.
I think it's basically Trump's fault. He kind of deserves to lose because he ran the worst campaign. There's if he stayed off Twitter, how many more people would have voted if he just wasn't on Twitter? Or he had aides that handled his Twitter. There's too many things that he did incompetent. And I'm speaking as somebody who didn't vote, and he could have got my vote. And I'm 100% never voting for Joe Biden. There's he could have took COVID more serious. I know some people don't think it's real, but he could have done more to support healthcare in America. He never built that wall. He didn't build it. I don't know. There's those things alone. He could have won. If he had an aide handle his Twitter, then that seems so basic. I don't know, he mishandled the campaign. Just that fact alone, Twitter, if he stayed off Twitter and one of his aides or somebody handled Twitter and maybe tweeted once a month, once a year, that's it. He probably could have won. But he didn't do it. He let his ego get in the way. And as far as Christianity, that's probably the biggest reason I wouldn't vote for Trump, because he was in Playboys and porns, and he's hypocritical. I don't know.
Sure.
He tarnished his own image, and that's speaking of somebody who could have voted for him. And there's a lot of good things that Trump had. It would have been way bigger. I day trade in the stock market. I would have preferred he won for that reason. He didn't. I don't know. He did not build the wall. He lied about that. And that was very evident. Mexico is never going to pay for that. There's too many. he ruined his campaign, in my opinion. He could have done some stuff to win. He could have built the wall. He could have stayed off Twitter.
I mean, he could have not spent the most money and inflated the federal government to the largest size it's ever been in the history of humanity. A lot of things. Trust me, like a lot of things, man. But like,
in my opinion, Trump is he could have got the Nobel Peace Prize because he didn't start any wars. That was one of the best things about him. Under Joe Biden, there's possibility we might go to war with China. I just think Trump could have handled himself. He's so immature all the time, how he's speaking and stuff. He let his ego get in the way.
Agreed. But I wonder, that's what makes me wonder, and like why I'm like, dude, like, are they all on the same team? Are they all in a bunker, toasting one another right now to a school play well produced and well directed, like, because at some points it was so ridiculous and so ego and so schmaltzy and so just like, shticky. I know these are all Yiddish words, maybe people don't know, but it does make me think like, what's going on? Are we all the ones being played, and like the whole, Trump was an outsider,
There's going to be more. There's going to be more Republicans now because of all this. Like, people saw all the riots and the looting. They saw all the chaos, and there was starting to be a tide of change where more people were going to be Republican. But I feel like Trump, he just lost all that on how he behaved.
Sure. I mean,
I think he could get reelected, though. Again, it is a possibility if he runs, but I think there will be a change. We might have another Republican.
I still think he may, like, that there's a lot still to go on here, but whatever it is that's going on is being scripted as in a school play. Like, at this point, I've walked out on the school play. I'm sorry, everybody. I don't know what to say. Like, Bill Barr's the attorney general. This whole thing was so scripted and so obvious. I love Trump. I hope he gets somehow in there. I think he probably won because I don't think that the support is as widespread as you think it is, Shrimp. But, I mean, it is what it is now. And it's almost like, he will do what television tells you to do. And the television is telling you to accept that it's Biden and the AP, right? So the AP is the one that like is shepherding the way, the Associated Press, right? The AP in 2017, I mean, you can go online and see all these contracts from the AP doing work with Voice of America, right? Voice of America is Broadcasting Board of Governors, which is also the United States Agency for Global Media. There were only 2 agencies which were allowed to do propaganda domestically, right? The State Department, which is a whale, and the United States Agency for Global Media, Voice of America. Then Voice of America makes contracts with the AP. So the AP isn't a news organization. The AP is part of the Smith Modernized Media. You can't actually, like, they legitimately, you can track them to say that they aren't giving news. They are giving, organized defense, like Defense Department authorized news for the purpose of national security purposes.
A lot of people are saying he built a fence. That's not true. I've looked into it for hours online. He built like feet of a fence, and he also went over like Native American burial ground. He didn't. If he built the wall, that would have been fine. He didn't build. There is not a wall though. That's just a lie. There's not a wall. It's just a fence, and especially that part near the ocean. That's like the worst fence in the world. If he built a wall, I would say he built a wall. That's not true. I'm from Arizona originally. I've researched that there's not a wall. I'd call it a fence.
Look at these colors.
Dude, the first, like, Republicans had everything the first 2 years, right? Like, so really everything now, it's really ridiculous. Like, we could have had a wall. We could have had all those things if people were on the same page. They didn't even get rid of Obamacare. Like, they had the House, the Senate, everything. They didn't even get rid of Obamacare. It's just we've all been played. I hope Trump's got some good lawyers. kind of that, I don't have much faith
He's got to
in.
get rid of Giuliani. If he gets rid of Giuliani, he could get a good lawyer.
I don't even, yeah. I mean, Giuliani being there makes me just even more suspicious of like it all being a school play again, right? Like, really, Trump, Giuliani's your lawyer, dude? The same guy? Like, the whole scene with the thing in the Borat movie is so obvious. Giuliani pretending to be gotten, like, hey, Giuliani, you're going to go lay on the bed. You're going to do this, meh, meh, meh. And then the girl's going to go like this. Then you're going to do this. Then in the media for a couple weeks, we're going to act like we're really butting heads. And, we'll give you another briefcase of money. Like, it's so fake. It's so ridiculous. These people are all school play actors right out of Habonim drawer, socialist Zionist summer camps and beyond, right? Like, they all hang out there. Giuliani, too. So, I don't know. I agree. It's BS. None of the people in Trump's orbit impress me at all, which is unfortunate. I like Donald, and I hope he was our president, and I think they stole the election, but nobody's impressing me. Here, you get this while I vet. You keep talking.
I don't know.
Hey,
Go ahead, Shrimp.
yep. You want to chat? You're not a troll. Troll. Hello, sir. You're on the air with the audience, the chat, us. Just let her fly.
Should I turn my
You turn all your other volumes down in your room there. Just talk with us on the phone would probably be the best way for the audience to hear us best. But what do you think about America circa round in the corner here at the end of 2020? What are you thinking?
Well, I think it's pretty hands down that Trump has got this made in the shade, which I think is hands down good for all of us people in America. I'll explain. Earlier today, George was talking about, or maybe it was yesterday, about the issue of the watermarks on the ballots and how there was a meeting up on some island off of Michigan and
Mackinac Island. The Mackinac Island meeting. Yep, Mackinac Island.
Yeah, and some Canadians be involved with printing up phony ballots. So I think the Trump team's on top of this, as well as I think the neighborhood news hour is as well. But also, I'd like to change the subject a little bit.
Sure.
As far as America goes and Canada, with the victories in Montana, South Dakota, Arizona, and New Jersey, as far as the legalization of cannabis for recreational use.
Wow, I didn't even know that. Yeah.
Well, and not many people are talking about that. And then I live in Washington State. My neighbors down in Oregon State, Washington and Oregon and California, of course, have had the recreational for 4 years now or so. But Oregon's just legalized personal use of narcotics, which has got me a little bit worried. And that's including the heroin, amphetamine, cocaine, and it's not it didn't legalize trafficking in those things. But anyway, I'm glad that I don't live in Oregon, because Portland is such a mess right now, and Seattle is such a mess right now with all them libtards. And so I feel like I'm kind of in enemy territory living in Washington. I'm glad I don't live in Seattle. I'm south of Olympia, which is like right in between Seattle and Portland.
Well, we're there with you in spirit.
But what do you guys think about the cannabis legalization in the 4 states?
I think it's a great and fine thing to have more levels of liberty and freedom. I worry that the whole thing is somehow going to ultimately be a play to get everybody on a gun list, or to keep people from buying guns, because to buy a gun, now I've never fired a gun in my life.
It's a midpoint, for sure.
I mean, because but I just know that you've got to say that you don't use marijuana, from what I understand, in order to buy a gun. But in order to buy marijuana at a recreational store, you've got to give them your ID. So I just wonder at what point the marijuana, the fact that you bought the marijuana, then you gave them the ID, they put you into whatever database they have. At what point is that database going to interface with, the ATF, I guess would probably be the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms database.
Phenomenon happening in Canada, where Justin Trudeau, probably got elected with the cannabis vote, and then so he carried through with his promise to legalize it, but meanwhile he cracked down on all the DWI laws, and so a person that smoked a joint 2 weeks ago can be driving their car, and the cop wants to do a mouth swab on them, and the paid off guy in the lab that's getting the payoff from the government takes the guy's driver's license away, even though he'd only smoked the joint 2 weeks ago.
Jeez. Right, exactly.
And so, just like you say, that's what we call a ruse. Mm-hmm. Where they hold out a carrot, meanwhile they're stabbing us in the back.
Marijuana for everyone! Yay! Except you can't go anywhere or do anything or have a gun.
I hope some other good people pull up. Maybe put.
I have to interject though, because
Shrimp was making a comment. Sorry, he had been muted. Addie had muted him. Okay. Wait, what was that, Shrimp? Oh Jesus!
So, I'm in New York. That isn't true. I'm finally. My ex was complaining, so I lost my.
Yeah, turn him up. Sorry, I think we got some.
So I'm in New York, and my ex was actually complaining about my guns and everything, but I'm finally getting my guns back. Oh, you can own guns here and have a medical marijuana card. That isn't true, and you don't go on the list. I have a medical marijuana card, and I have a ton of guns. So I just have to say that's not true, at least for New York and New Jersey. There's no question about weed, buying a gun. You could buy a gun super easy here. You just can't buy to buy a pistol is super hard. It's pretty much impossible, but I have a medical marijuana card and I have a ton of guns. So I just had to say for New York, that isn't true. I don't know about other places. I've heard that for other places though. I
know in Illinois, as Deborah said, that's the case. I
just bought this gun. I just bought this like 2 days ago. That's why.
Do you want to talk about that, Shrimp?
Yeah, you don't. That's not true for New York State. You can have a medical marijuana card and guns.
Interesting.
Is that a 22?
That's a 25 caliber. And Deborah's saying in Illinois you can't though. So I'm pretty sure I have heard that for other states, like probably California. I don't know. New York though, not. But New York City, you can't own a gun. You can't even own a BB gun in New York City. So,
how many lists do you think our names are on, just in general? Thousands?
A lot. Yeah. I'm more worried about social media stuff than the government, though.
Like lists that the social media controllers have you on?
I feel like these companies are going to have more control than the government eventually, like Twitter, Facebook, all these big companies. Tesla.
I agree with that.
Neuralink.
I mean, they've already got all this data. Yeah, I mean, that's every line of code in the data is a list almost in terms of like what you don't like, what you have, what you don't have, and everything, But I don't know, that other caller, we hung up on him. I wanted to know what state he was from, but
you can call back.
Well, that's okay. If anybody does want to call, those 734-224-7090. Shrimp, we may do some hand signals if the caller. Maybe I'll hold up the phone like that or something.
Yeah, when he's talking.
Yeah, the call, it's tough.
But just before we move on, I just wanted to comment on the drug, thing, just so we all have a take on it. Make sure we all get our takes out there. I don't know what, like heroin. I'm not sure if that should be legalized, but I don't know. I'm more so lean libertarian on these things than not. similar to like prostitution. I think that should be regulated and legalized because these are things that happen no matter what, regardless of how they may make people feel with regards to their morals, ethics, principles, etc. Humans are going to pay for sex and they're going to pay for drugs. And that's just what's always going to happen. So you may as well tax it, right? Have it regulated in a fair way. Whether that's
nope, not yet. Did you want to talk on air?
We got a caller.
Okay, we're gonna call. Why don't you call back when we're off air then? Hey, thanks.
Okay. Anyway, so again, maybe it's not the solution too, because it's like, do you trust government essentially running trafficking, which they're already doing? So it's like it would just make it maybe their trafficking enterprise easier to do. I think that argument could be there, perhaps.
You know what our government tracks in, which intersects with the drug stuff and everything that our government and medical industry traffics in outrageously in terms of America? Blood. And especially beyond blood, plasma, which then makes me think, man, like all these plasma centers and all these drug addicts at the plasma centers. Did you know that American
ahead,
donors,
go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, where are you from?
All right, excuse the dead air, folks. We're trying to get our situation here. It'd be nice if we had a secretary, like 1950s secretary, with the whole.
Do you think is this a wall or is it a fence? I mean, I can see why you call it a wall, but to me, it's a crazy fence.
I don't know, man. I actually didn't have a bone in that particular fight or argument. It's kind of semantics argument, which it's like, yeah, he made a little bit more of a fence or a wall or whatever you want to call it, but
yeah, I'm gonna give up on it. It's a stupid argument. You can't win
it's like the build the damn roads thing here with what's her name? I can't remember. No, was that Gretchen Whitmer's thing? Build the damn roads, or anyways, yeah, it's just a dumb slogan that he went off of, so the people with IQs of 90 can get excited about, I don't know, telling people they can't come in America. But I do think America's better off with Trump as president, no doubt in my mind. When you look at the lens of the Biden-Trump dichotomy, if you're forced to choose with that constraint in mind, I'm always going to choose Trump. Now, with Biden potentially winning, but again, this is, I think, far from over. With Biden potentially winning, we're going to see a greater crackdown in censorship and a lot of really authoritarian measures that I would guess, if he wins, look, maybe there's war in Iran, maybe there's more war in Syria or wherever.
I agree Namibia, with that.
Ghana. They're gonna just rape and pillage Africa for everything.
Do the best I can. I'll do the best I can. I promise. Give me 10 seconds.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. There's more wars under Biden. He's more pro-war. Trump was actually super peaceful. He wasn't starting wars, so that's everything you said is true. I think we're definitely going to see a war in the Middle East, I think, under Biden. Probably Syria.
Yeah. We got a caller. Go ahead, caller.
All right, caller. Here we are in the news studio with a caller. Where are you calling from, caller?
Calling from North Carolina, guys.
From North Carolina. All right. You can give us your name if you want, or you can just be Mr. North Carolina, whatever you. Raymond from NC. So, what are you thinking today, Raymond? What's our? Where are we at today?
So I would just after
after everything going on, I saw a video today that was implying that it was possible Joe Biden was going to have a stroke, and then Donald Trump would take over, and he would get killed, and then Barack would come in. And after I thought about that, which is as silly as that sounded, it made me think of an article I read, or an essay I read by Miles Mathis. And I read it, and it seemed pretty plausible with him talking about how the Kennedys had access to movie studios and whatnot. And he was talking about how it's plausible that JFK himself faked his death and started like a shadow government. And then with all the talk about JFK possibly faking his death, I mean,
that'd be an interesting one. Wow.
I was just curious if you guys had ever came across that.
I hadn't heard that one. I mean, there's at this point, the Kennedy drama just continues.
Sure.
Certainly the whole like JFK Jr. all of a sudden appearing and becoming the vice president is, I think we can discount that at this point.
Yeah.
But that's good. I mean, whatever, we love our researchers of all types here in the studio.
Follow the Cabal, Chapter 10.
Whatever. But that is an interesting scenario. And dude, like the whole thing that happened in the midst of these last few months with Maeve Kennedy and the child on the boat chasing the ball and that whole thing. I mean, remember that?
Yeah, I did.
Like, it's just, where does it end? And like, it just gets weirder every time, And so I don't know. I wouldn't discount anything. I mean, at this point, yeah, I wish we had John O'Loughlin on here. We could ask him what he thinks about the possibility of.
See, I got turned on to this I started investigating this quote-unquote alien invasions back in 1947. And then I went to Bill Cooper and started listening to Bill Cooper and read his book.
Sure.
And he presented some evidence about that being completely false. So I went from the aliens controlling the world now to just trying to figure out what's going on in the world.
Sure. Yeah, we're all here together. So where did you find us? Through George Webb? Or are you another George Webb?
I found you through George Webb. Yeah,
absolutely.
I went to George Webb, and I guess he was talking about AdZ one day. So
there you go.
Let me hear, and I follow you guys all the time. But I initially was following George Webb back early because Cliff High was talking about the virus being a bioweapon way back in February or so. And then he talked about George Webb had good videos on there, so I got turned on to him, and here we are.
Yeah, and then they took George's channel away because the videos were too good, huh? But oh well.
That's when you start getting scared. You know what I mean?
I suppose yeah. I mean. Well, either way, thanks for calling in. Definitely, I think all of us, we are all super Kennedy enthusiasts here. Everyone, keep that little nugget in the back of your mind that maybe it's the deepest of deeps. What was the article you said? So everyone could go read for themselves.
It was by a researcher. His name is Miles Mathis.
Miles Mathis.
And
okay.
If I have to admit that one of the UFO enthusiasts that I had listened to mentioned that article, but I did read it. It was about 40 or 50 pages, and it was interesting. It did sound plausible. However, when in retrospect, obviously, it sounded a little bit ridiculous.
Hey, I mean, us.
But it is something that if you guys ever looked into, you would think was probably a little interesting.
Yeah, no, we'll look it up here after the show. I'll read into it and everything. I mean, we ain't gonna be the pot to call the kettle black here.
And I like following you guys. You guys are interesting and you're brave and shit.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Thanks for calling in. It makes every call makes us happier that we're here and someone cared enough to call, man. It's
appreciate you.
It means a lot.
Yeah, appreciate you calling.
Thanks a lot. We'll kick it to Shrimp here quick. And anybody else you want to call? Thanks, sir. Anybody else if you want to call? 734-224-7090. Shrimp, any thoughts on JFK being alive and running a shadow government? Now, or you don't have to give us thoughts on that. You can just talk about anything you want.
Well, that's pretty interesting. I don't know what happened to JFK, really. I don't know if that was a conspiracy or like who killed him. It seems like it was like a super lucky shot, especially for back then,
Absolutely, right?
Like,
Very,
dude,
very curious.
How far was the shot? Was it like a mile or something crazy like that?
No, it was what, a couple hundred yards.
A couple
So
hundred.
it's pretty
It was
doable,
like-
quite doable for a good marksman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
What
again, you know,
caliber rifle were they using?
I actually don't know. Do you know what caliber?
No. Nope.
What do you guys think? You think he
If
was?
anybody's got questions they want to put in the chat, we can read them in the chat too. We do like phone calls better than chat questions per se, in a sense. But I guess we know everybody isn't in a position to call. The question of did Al Gore invent the internet or just internet porn? I think I'm not going to answer that question though, because I don't know the answer. I think it was a joke. Here we go. Neighborhood News Hour. Addie says so. Okay.
Put her on.
I'm going to put you right on air. You don't sound like a troll. We're going to trust you. Well, you got to be on air. You just called on air. We won't ask you your name. I'm just going to put you on speaker and you just ask it and we'll hang up. How about that? Here we go. She doesn't want to know. We don't need to know anything about our caller. Just ask your question, caller. Here we go.
Okay. I just wanted to know, they mentioned Neighborhood News Hour is closing in December. I wanted to know why. And, because I kept looking for, like, how can we help the news hour or donate to Aaron? And
I see. All right. Well, I got you.
And then the other thing is, how can we most help everyone, all this stuff with George Webb and Addie and Dave and, how can we best help everyone out in the time coming up?
Okay, thanks for your question. I guess that'd be a great opportunity for us to give a little roundup here. Thank you. Okay. So
Link in the description below. They're Patreons. Right?
Yeah, there we got all that stuff for sure. I think
if you want to make a large one-time donation or a small one-time donation, you can go to the description box, PayPal, GoFundMe for those, and then Patreon as well. Shrimpsu has a Patreon. Two, I wanted to actually bring this up because Shrimpsu has been completely demonetized, although he does still have access to using the store. All his videos have been demonetized. He doesn't make any money whatsoever on posting videos, and his Patreon is it's wanting. Could be larger people, so I'd implore people to go and give Shrimpsu.
Well, you've been demonetized yourself.
Yep. I have been demonetized as well. 100% actually. 100% of my money has come from donations.
The people listening to this are probably thinking that I'm super left or something or a Democrat, but YouTube views me as too far right to be monetizable. So that's how ridiculous it is. I'm viewed as alt-right on YouTube. I'm viewed as too much of a Trump supporter to be monetizable. So it is very ridiculous.
Yeah. It puts Shrimp in a precarious situation in terms of
if
market
you're in the middle,
value.
that's why you don't like the left if you're in the middle, because they're ridiculous.
Yeah.
Democrats are super ridiculous.
Yeah, well, they have gotten that way lately, or at least the Sunshine Movement, which is attempting to pull them all the way to the radical left, has made sure that they get that way.
Yeah, but let's continue answering the question.
Yeah. So I mean,
should we give the address out so older people, younger people want to send checks? They can do that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, sure. I mean, the address. We're gonna just say the address. The address is 1671 Stearns Road, Temperance, Michigan.
It's like
48182. If you wanted to send.
It's like on
a check.
that 70s show when Fez is about to say his name and someone always says something or a noise pops up when Fez is about to say, or not his name,
right.
but where
Here,
he's
give
from,
us 1 second
what
here. We're
country
gonna
he's from.
Finish this last question real fast. Throw you on there. 30 seconds. Here we go.
Yeah, but just to continue answering the question, can you say the address again there?
1671 Stearns Road, Temperance, Michigan, 48182. If you're a troll or whoever you are, come by and stop by. We'll still buy a pizza and hang out with you and listen to all the things you have to say that you don't like about us. No problem at all. So stop by, send a check. Suite D and E. I guess there's a different units around here. So Suite D and E, 1671 Stearns Road, Temperance, Michigan, 48182. You could make checks out to Neighborhood News Hour or I guess just Neighborhood News Hour. I do need to still go get a bank account at this point, but we might as well do it that way. The checks could go to that.
Yeah, she said that Neighborhood News Hour is closing or
1671, not 1617.
Yeah, I keep hearing
71.
that too.
But yeah, that's the bigger thing. Let's address that really fast. Then I got a good caller on the line. The Neighborhood News Hour is not closing. George Webb is an incredible and awesome guy who is human and can't do it all himself. And I think is at a point in his career where he is still feeling out how much he does and doesn't have to do himself. And I think it's clear now our job is to do it, and we don't need George, and it's going to be hard, and there's not going to be as many views, and it's not going to be as interesting, and it's not going to be as incredible, but we're just going to have to do it, and we are doing it, and we're going to do it. And I don't know if I'm going to see George Webb in a week or a month or a year from now, but I know he probably feels like, based on just how we all love him so much and how he kind of brought this team to a start, that he feels responsible for maybe trying to hold down this little retail location that I've rented here in my Anytown, USA, Michigan. And he doesn't. And I don't want him to feel that way. And I think maybe any comments he made would be just him expressing that, he feels like, he's that I've tried to invest a lot into him. And I have certainly invested a lot into him, but I haven't invested it into him. I've invested into America, my kids, the future. George is just a guy, man. He's an awesome guy. He's the best researcher, the most entertaining guy I know. But Neighborhood News Hour is not going away. It's not going anywhere. It might be less cool without George here, but thank you all for being here. Shrimp, thank you for being here. It's at least cool enough to some people. Addie, you're out here on the street munching it up with people at TCF.
I just put the
we will be
address in the live chat. So there was a misspelling there. So it's 1671
right?
West Stearns Road, Suite D and E, Temperance, Michigan 48182. If people want to send.
Yeah, I mean, any financial support is helpful at this point. We have revamped and redeveloped the whole business to basically be the George Webb Worship Center. But, we don't want George here all the time. That's the thing is he needs to not come here for a while, and we need to be able to hold this down and get the work done.
Center, though.
I know. I'm teasing. So that's me being a super fan. It's we don't want it to be that. We want it to be able to be the studio, and we know we have work to do. And so don't worry, it's not closing. It's getting better and better each day. And, we're doing the best we can. Addie's going to, I hope, stick around a little longer or medium term. We still have to, determine a lot of moving parts and things. It's all good. It's all good. I mean, people were worried that we were going to close the building here and put everything in storage now that the election is over. But no, we're not going to do that. We're going to try to keep going. There's a lot of research to do, right? But we have a great caller. We have Carol. Sorry to keep you waiting, Carol. I said 30 seconds. That was 2 minutes. But we have Carol from Oregon. I believe you know Carol. I think because she was at a charrette.
Yep.
So this is Addie's old pal, Carol, here.
Hey, Carol. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and I just want to say you guys are doing a great job and carrying on without George. There's plenty to carry on.
You know it.
I just want to give you a little report on Oregon.
Please.
We did pass a lot of strange things happened with the election, but the one that legalizes, highly processed and dangerous drugs was pretty scary, and it included meth, by the way. It's not only small amounts of meth, heroin, cocaine, et cetera, are not totally legalized, but you only get $100 fine, or you can get a psychological profile and options to get treatment. We also passed, which I was happy to see, legalizing psilocybin, which is just mushrooms. Regular cannabis and regular mushrooms are both plants. Just plants. They just don't need to be illegal, and have valuable medicinal qualities that people have partaken in and used often for their benefit for thousands of years. So I think those are fine. But when you take substances and highly, highly refine them, and people get so addicted, I would say that that all over the entire state, and especially the big cities, the problem of drug addiction and homelessness is much bigger. Riots, the fires, everything. It's just been getting bigger and bigger as long as I've lived here since the late 70s. And now it's just everywhere you look.
So what you're making me think of, Carol, if I remember from the shows I saw, you're like in the middle of Oregon, right?
I'm right in Portland, and I'm close to downtown, and I'm close to all kinds of stuff.
You're not the one with the farm, then. There was somebody at a charrette who had a farm.
I work at a farm.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that was threatened by the fires, and that's an hour drive. So I have an hour drive every day.
Oh, okay.
An hour drive back, and that it's beautiful. Oregon is gorgeous. Everywhere you look, it's gorgeous.
What I'm thinking, though, with your story, though, here, so I spent a week in a town called Florence. Have you ever heard of Florence? It's a small town.
On the coast.
It's a beautiful town on the coast. It was so great. I just had to stay there a week. It was, I stayed at a campground. But when I think of with what you're saying with Florence, I mean, you could literally come right in to Florence from anywhere in the world. You could sail a ship right in there. Right? Am I mistaken?
Yes.
I mean, a Chinese boat full of meth and heroin could show up, could pull right into the docks in Florence and throw the bag off the ship to whoever they want, and it could be into America legally at this point.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous.
Our ports on the ocean aren't so great, but you can...
aren't so great in terms of security and lawless.
So in terms of there's a giant big wave and not deep harbors. We don't have a lot of shipping.
Well, all it takes is a couple guys in a boat, to bring in some creepy fentanyl or something. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Is like, man, like Oregon, are they going to just start using Oregon as like an infiltration point for drug insanity? That's what's scaring me about what you're telling me.
Well, Aaron, I think it's already been an infiltration point for decades.
I guess you're right? Evergreen. Hello.
Yeah, our Evergreen Aviation was going.
Good call. Well, I know the chat loves you. The chat. I think most of the people in the chat know you. So anybody, I guess I'd say throw a comment in for Carol here if you.
So Carol, to recap, it's psilocybin's been legalized in Oregon.
Yes, and that was a different initiative that people have been trying to pass, especially Dr. Bronner. He's given a lot of money, his son, to that. And that I was very excited about because I've known a number of people that psilocybin has really helped.
Yeah.
So that was a good thing. But this other bill, sponsored by Chan Zuckerberg for half a million, and also an organization that George Soros is on the board of for over $2 million. And we don't have a big population in our state, so the financing of the yes vote was just hundreds and hundreds of times larger than the financing on the no vote. And the no argument was there were a lot of people that had been addicts that wrote in saying they never, ever would have gone through treatment without having to, legally being forced to. And so without that, that's the treatment is in question. And I think what the treatment likely is with that kind of finance behind the bill is it's really going to shift it from the illegal economy just to high-priced pharmaceuticals paid for by our tax dollars, I do want to see the addicts get help. That's for sure. Psilocybin might be a good possibility for helping them, and marijuana has been shown to help people get off hard drugs. There's lots of studies that show that.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a.
There's ways to help people get off it, but if it just turns into, sort of like methadone program, which is basically the same thing, only it's run through the pharmaceutical company, still coming from China.
It's just, we're so obviously under attack on so many levels. It's outrageous, That's why it's like we are under such full spectrum dominance attack. They are creating legislation for the purpose of being able to just to kablam us with drugs. Like there are rich quadrillionaires who are spending their money to finance. It's like, oh, sorry, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the presidential election is pretty far from home when you realize Soros is paying millions to create heroin addicts down the street from you all around, right? It's just, there's so many levels that we're fighting this on. But
just like George was watching people dealing drugs at the middle school and the high school across from the street in Canby, Oregon. I'm seeing people crazy on meth, right outside my window. Just last week, somebody tried to jack up one of our cars, this catalytic converter, and there were people totally high on whatever with, syringes all over the place, with flashlights going in people's backyards, taking stuff and putting it in a big cart. I mean, this is just last week, and I live in a nice neighborhood.
How's the mayor? Is he still holed up on the 40th floor there, or?
Well, the mayor got reelected, and
he got reelected. That guy?
He got reelected,
Wow.
and the person that was running against him was Ms. Defund.
She was Antifa,
She was
right?
way far to the left.
Really? Oh my God! It left and left her, huh?
And the mayor, we considered him a right winger. He was
That's Wheeler, right? Am I mistaken? Was that Wheeler?
Yeah.
Wheeler, right? Yeah, we're learning all the names here in the news studio, right?
famous all over the world.
Oh boy! All right, well, Carol, thanks so much for the update from Oregon. Definitely, we getting some Oregon love tonight. There's a lot happening over on the coast. So,
Yeah.
Eddie, we might have to send you out there for some reporting here.
Yeah, thank you,
Soon
Carol.
enough. Thanks, Carol. I'm gonna hang up.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, I used to live in Oregon.
You used to live in Oregon?
Yeah.
Wow.
Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah.
Oregon.
But anyway, yeah. So that was great hearing from Carol for sure. Yeah, man. There's, the propositions are fascinating on these ballots. So many people don't really think about them and don't really read them, and even a lot of maybe more. I don't want to call myself conservative. I don't know what I am. I mean, I'm on the right? I mean, YouTube puts us where they say, right? Shrimp. If they say we're on the right, that's where we have to be, I guess.
If
But
you're
like-
not super to the left, then you're definitely to the right.
Pretty much, right?
YouTube.
But
You're
it's
not
like
with me.
a lot of people just go no on all the propositions,
When
which
you're
is
my
like,
enemy.
Neighborhood News Hour. Hey,
Just put it on.
not a troll. Hold on, here we go. Putting you on. Not a troll. Hi. You're on the air. Our call screening process is being defunct. And nobody wants to see that. We're just putting you right on the air. So hi, where are you from, caller?
Okay, hi. I'm currently in North Carolina.
Oh, cool. Okay. You can give us your name if you want, or just Mrs. North Carolina is cool. Whatever you want.
Yeah, my name is Norma.
Norma. All right.
And, and I've been following George since about a year and a half or so.
I think I've seen you in the chat. I think you've chatted a few times, right? You're in there once in a while. No, maybe we have a different Norma in there.
More like Twitter, I think.
Okay.
And more recently, not for a long time.
Well, what's your question there? Sorry, yeah, what's up?
A couple of
Or
things.
comment?
I wanted to make I'm trying to think which of the two I want to talk about first, but yeah, let's go with the easy one. I didn't start listening to your tonight's show until a few minutes after, so I don't know if this was already covered. But I wanted to see
Addie's sweatshirt. Who made that? Like,
Oh yeah, you got to show up your sweatshirt.
for sale already.
We got to get him to stand up. Yeah, I think you're gonna have to show up the front and back. The back is pretty cool too. Sorry, Addie. I like this. Good call, caller. Get him moving here. Uh-oh.
So we got.
I can't see it right now because I stopped the show. So
Oh well, no, he's showing it though.
Okay,
It says
that is going to be the answer to the test. I'm trying to
That-
talk over Aaron Adler. It's really hard. Here is the back. Can you see it?
Swing State.
Eddie adds Swing State News.
That's cool.
And the person who made it, his name is Wesley McCullough. He's the mysterious man with the electric blue eyes that sits in the back of our broadcast sometimes at the charrettes or the previous charrette. So yeah, I don't know. Are you interested in buying one? Is that why you're asking, or
Oh yeah. I think it'd be so cool. And with the what does it say? Does it have what's the message in the front?
It just says that is going to be the answer to the test. A classic Georgism.
That's like the best.
Wow, yeah, I will see. If we can get those, and do circulation.
we gotta get the gear going for
And
sure.
you can get your name on the back too.
But so if that was the easy one, what is the hard one? You said that there were two, so that's the easy question.
yeah,
What's
yeah.
the hard one now?
Hard, but Trip 2 was talking about the JFK assassination and that kind of thing, and I'm no expert, but I've read a lot about it and everything. So just in brief, we have what the official story, the alleged story is that Lee Oswald supposedly shot him from that book depository building, and it's been pretty much proven, although the official story denies it, that a shooter could not have gotten the president from that position there.
Right.
The view was not the best view, and there was that tree in front that would probably have blocked the shot to get to the president. You would have had to have been super lucky, number one, and two, you would have been like the most expert shot in the world. And allegedly, the initial reports were that the weapon used was a Mauser, which is from Germany, and made allusion apparently to the Nazi era. And then but then later that was changed and said, oh no, it was a Italian Carcano. I don't know anything about calibers. I don't
Sure.
know much about weapons, but
No, it's a fraud. Total fraud. I mean, it's outrageous.
that weapon was the Carcano was said to have been one of the worst weapons ever. You couldn't get it to shoot, really. So it was just really no way that Lee Oswald did it or would have done it from up there. What they do believe, though, that this was a triangulation, and there were people possibly on other buildings and maybe even on the ground. And there was some of the photos that were captured there. You could see like a little blast of smoke coming from the grassy knoll. So that's one of the famous phrases.
Sure.
Grassy knoll.
The grassy knoll, yeah. I mean, not to mention Dr. Mary's Monkey, New Orleans, Perm Index, all these, Mossad, this and that, and then all, CIA and George W. or not George, the George Senior he's the only person who doesn't know where he was when Kennedy was shot, right? He can't, quote unquote, can't recall. May he rest in peace, right? But I don't know. The whole thing's preposterous. Our whole history has been stolen and just fed to us like we're pigs.
And I was just reading or possibly rereading one of Fletcher Prouty's letters to Jim Garrison.
Wow,
Jim Garrison,
nice.
by the way, I believe is one of the most unsung heroes, of our country. Not just because of him trying to
bring the JFK assassination information to the public and make us aware of it. I mean, that's probably the best movie he's ever made in his life. But although it cost him, unfortunately,
Sure.
family, in terms of his relationships with his family and all that. But he was also one of the first. What was his position in New Orleans? The DA, the prosecutor. I don't remember.
The prosecutor. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure, but I think it sounds about right. Yep.
Yeah. But he was one of the best, and he ran for that office totally without any political affiliation. Total independent. Sure. And then he went on later to become a judge. And while he was in the position there in New Orleans, he was trying to get rid of the corruption and clean up the city, and people reelected him. So they liked the job that he was doing. Certainly not the mafia types, but
fascinating stuff. I'll tell you. Well, I think we're going to leave it there. Let someone else call in. But let me tell you, Ospreys or World, this is what Ospreys do. They read things like Prouty's letters to Garrison in their spare time, right? Or do you do it for work? You do it in your spare time, right?
Oh, no, yeah. Of course
This is what we do in our spare time. You can't beat us. Thanks for calling, North Carolina. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Oh, I hung up. Too bad. I'm sorry.
Whoops.
She got a couple questions in, but yeah, dude, I mean, that's so cool. Like, dude, people just love researching. Some people like the Kardashians, some people like football. We like football too, but some people just like research and history, and it's so awesome to see.
Yeah, it's great getting those call-ins, no doubt. I wanted to bring it back to the elections here. Got a source says that they have an elections monitor in Fulton County, Georgia.
Neighborhood news.
Can they?
No, you keep talking. I'll listen.
Okay, in Fulton County, Georgia, who saw Biden votes go up by 20,000 and Trump votes decrease by 1,000.
1 second, we'll put you on.
And the computer system, so Biden votes went up by 20,000 and Trump votes decreased by 1,000. Again, this is in Fulton County, Georgia, and the computer system update occurred a few days before the election took place. And the update that occurred was approved by the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad, I think his name is Raffenberg, but it was not certified after the update. Let me see. I think his name is Brad Raffenberg. Let me double check on that.
Shrimp, before we dive into another caller, you got any roundup comments at the moment? Sorry, we dragged you into a call-in show. We're I'm Patty out here with just taking calls, but it's good. Any comments? I got a California on the line whenever we're ready.
I looked at the rifle that was used to kill JFK real quick when she was talking. It looked like it was a pretty crappy rifle. It was used in World War I and World War II. So it's a really old, not very good gun.
Interesting.
It looks like Kevin Timmer says it was 6.5 by 5 by 52 millimeter. That's kind of a weird cartridge. I've never heard of that. Again, I'm not an expert on weapons, but Brad Raffensperger is his name. But we have a caller from, where is that?
I got California. Did you want to? We should take him. All right, California. Here we go. You're on the air, Mr. California.
Hello. How you guys doing?
Good.
I subscribe to all of you guys.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
I appreciate all you guys' hard work. So my main question is, how do you guys think this whole situation is going to play out regarding the election? Do you think that we may fall into a civil war? And how will that converge with the whole COVID situation?
I think. You want to go first?
That's a great question. Yeah, if anybody wants to dive in, they can. Do you want to go first on that one, Shep?
Yeah, I'll go first on it.
So I'm always watching your show, bro.
Oh wow, what's up, Bobito?
You know Bobito?
Yeah, Bobito's
Nice.
one of my loyal subs. I think he might be a wrench too. Either way, I'll give you a wrench if you don't already have one, Bobito.
This is fun, man. Sweet.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, so Shrimp, what do you think? Bobito wants to know: are we destined for
this
civil war?
Civil war scenario was like definitely had like a good chance of playing out. Not necessarily civil war, but like extreme like social unrest, political unrest. Definitely a lot of killings and shootings. That had a high chance of playing out if Trump was reelected, because the left, their protests are so much crazier. MAGA fans aren't burning buildings or killing people. It's the Democrats that are killing the Republicans, stabbing the Proud Boys in D.C., or shooting a guy walking down the street at night waiting in the parking garage, shooting a Republican for no reason. So the left definitely was going to cause violence if Trump won. It's not going to be very violent. I think it's going to die down. But Portland and California and New York City, Ferguson, Rochester, places like that, anytime a black guy or black woman is killed by any police officer, even if it's a black cop, there's going to be protests, maybe not riots, but Oregon is going to continue with the Antifa protest. That needs to be squashed, Antifa, over there. But I think we're safe from a civil war, but there's going to be unrest, definitely, especially because of COVID. Republicans aren't going to take the lockdowns, and I think even Democrats probably aren't going to agree to lockdowns either. So that could be unrest.
Eddie, what do you think? You want to tackle it for next? You want me to tackle it?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's as far as civil war, like a hot war. I'm not sure if I see that happening in a way that it happened before, right? With the American Civil War. I think we are in a civil war, informationally speaking. We have these like battling factions of information, and the meme wars, right, is what they are called. But more civil unrest, I would expect that. Again, if Trump, I think what Shrimp said is right. If Trump was elected, the left are much more readily willing to resort to violence. I mean, I don't think anybody can deny that. If you're looking at it with some sort of objectivity, if you have a degree of objectivity about it, the left is definitely much more violent than the right. I heard someone tweet, or I read a tweet earlier, I think it was today actually, that said the left resorts to violence and the right just prays, which I think is a bit of an oversimplification, but it's kind of funny in a way, because it's very true when you look at who the radicals are.
It's the left.
Yeah, but before I think civil war would happen, I think the feds would be sent in, the National Guard in some sort of capacity. But I don't fear people so much as I fear the secret team doing some sort of operation to incite
for
that.
COVID.
Really
they could send in the National Guard for COVID and lock people in their houses still. Under Biden, under Trump, definitely no, but Biden, that is a possibility.
Yeah, I'm talking about a terrorist event orchestrated by the CIA and the FBI that would incite a civil war, or a race war, rather. They would. I mean, who's to say that didn't already happen with George Floyd? But what I'm saying is, it could happen again at a bigger level, whether it's a Vegas or a Orlando nightclub shooting. I think that's who really can set the light the match and throw it in the barn, so to speak. If we're talking about a civil war, we have to fight it. Really, we'd really have to fight it. It's I don't know. It does seem like sometimes that you're not affecting things. I certainly feel that way sometimes. But just sticking with it and getting this feedback. Like, I've never talked to Bobito before, but Bobito's been following me for, I think, say a couple months now at least, and he usually has good comments to say in the chat and stuff. So you just never know how you are affecting things, right? So civil war, Possibility for sure. And again, that most likely situation for that happening would be incitement by the CIA and FBI. The dark faction within those two organizations.
Yeah, I mean, Babito, you called, so here we go, bro. I have a question. I know maybe I don't want to be inappropriate, but I feel like you maybe a minority of some kind, maybe have a little more melanin in your skin than others, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, am I wrong about that, or?
Right, I do. Yeah, definitely.
And and like I got, my wife's from Africa. I got kids that have more melanin also, and all that, and it's pretty clear somebody wants us all at each other's throats over the color of our skin. And I don't know that we're going to be able to pull ourselves back from the brink. And it is scary that we may end up in what you're saying, some type of kinetic warish, whatever thing, based on that. It's pretty scary. Yeah, I think we're all kind of nervous on that. And it's a great question. I want to hold out hope, though, that we're going to flip these dudes and we're going to totally take this thing and we're going to create freedom and liberty for all races and all colors. And we're going to take their narrative and shove it on them. And it's going to be awesome. We are almost at the end of our program tonight. We maybe have to dive into race with Babito and AdZ and Shrimp Zoo and others on another day. But, dude, that's the cleavage point. We all know that's the cleavage point, right?
Yeah, it's a great question.
That they're trying to get us to hate each other over race, and they're trying to turn this into and even if it isn't just a racial civil war, it's this pretend righteousness, pretend because even if I'm not a minority, I can do this and do that because of what the narrative of minorities is. And it's total bogus. It's total anti-American. And I don't know, we're pretty deep in it, man, but I think something's going to happen, right? I mean, I don't know, for my kids' sake, for your kids' sake, if you got kids, nowhere are we going to let them bring us into a racial civil war, right?
Right.
We're going to do it. We're going to do it somehow.
I appreciate the question a lot, Babito. I do appreciate you as well being someone that, pays attention. So I just want to say thanks.
What do you think, Babito? Yeah? We
Oh, yeah.
Kumbaya or what?
Yeah, just to add, I think you guys are right. I'm kind of at the edge of my seat waiting to see what's going to happen. It's been a little quiet, it seems like to me, and I'm just curious, is it going to pop off? Or I was also wondering, do you guys think that another foreign nation, say the CCP, could use the vulnerability that we're in right now and maybe try to cause a false flag to cause some kind of big division in the United States or to pop off a civil war? Do you think that's something another foreign nation might be sitting down on their strategic tables asking themselves, should we go ahead and take advantage of the situation they're in and cause disruption in their society, maybe set off a civil war?
I would expect there are no less than 24 nations sitting around conference tables discussing that exact thing right now.
Yeah, that's definitely happening.
And if they're not, then their military generals don't know what they're doing because, yes, Babito, you hit it, dude. We have, this is unfortunate, right? We're talking civil war, but the real thing is we've just exposed our vulnerabilities to our foreign enemies. So it's a double whammy, man. It's a double whammy. We really got to pull ourselves out, but we're going to do it. I know we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, dealing with the fear is...
Thank you guys for your answers. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for your question. Love you calling in.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to hang up, but then I'm going to let the phone ring, and we're going to give closing statements because we have – thanks, Babito. We have the awesome Mark Kulak coming on. Oh, man, it's 9 o'clock right now. No closing statements. Babito closed us out. Everybody, please, we are going to end the Shrimp. You can make a closing statement after I just tell everyone that. Mark Kulak at Housatonic Live, his YouTube channel. If anybody in our chat wants to throw Housatonic Live in there and spell it for the people, it's the best show on YouTube. Mark is awesome. So
let's go subscribe to the Neighborhood News Studio and hit their Patreons up. link in description.
Yeah, and go subscribe to Shrimp Zoo, one of the most banned and censored shadow banned on the web as well. So help us out, guys. We're trying to help
A
you
lot
out.
of people getting banned.
I actually want to get Mr. Kulak on my channel soon and on the studio channel soon. So hopefully we can do that in the near future. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you all. Thanks so much.
Stay frosty.
USA.
And until next time, folks.